Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and the Pokemon TCG obviously has a lot of cards, and a lot of them are really interesting in terms of their design and designed really well. I mean, I like the game a lot, and I like it because the cards are cool in terms of what they do, and they're unique and they're fun. But there are some cards that, in my opinion, really stand out above the rest. So today we're going to be taking a look at 5 of them. These aren't in really any particular order outside of just like, I guess, best video flow, but not out in anywhere outside of that. But today we have 5 cards that are, well, you'll see, but there's a variety of different types of cards here. And the first card we have here is Drake-Loke. And shouts to iCool for recommending this card. I made a poll, and this is one that someone said, and so I also agree here. This is a really cool design card, and also shout out to iCool for like commenting on lots of my videos. But anyways, this card is really interesting, Draco here, because a few different reasons. I will say it evolves into Dragapult EX. Dragapult EX is arguably, I guess, the best deck in the game. I don't know. I don't think too many people would say it is. I think most people would say Goldango, but it's very good nonetheless. It's like second or third or something like that. It's very good. And so you could argue that Drake-Loke helping out Dragapult makes it too good, and that could be an issue. Also, in terms of card design, I haven't made a card design video in quite a while. I generally consider 4 criteria: how fun the card is to play in a vacuum, how fun it is within context, how fun it is to play against, and then how balanced it is. And so, in terms of playing with it, what it does is that it lets you look at the top 2 cards of your deck once each turn, put one to your hand, the other on the bottom of your deck. It can also do 70 for Fire and Psychic. Of course, within Dragapult, it is also a card that evolves into Dragapult EX, and it helps increase the power of the deck by allowing it to have an engine here. And again, you could argue it's too good because it helps it out, but I don't think Drake-Loke would be the issue there. Drake-Loke can also be played in other decks, though. You don't see it too much in other decks. That being said, you do see it within a deck like Goldango Dragapult or like Dragapult Charizard, where Dragapult EX itself isn't like super important to the deck. The Drake-Loke is pretty important there, though, as an engine. And looking at engines, I've said a lot in the standard format that the engines are kind of weak, and that's also true with Drake-Loke, but it's not bad. It's a very solid draw engine here. It draws you 1 card every turn, but you look at 2, so it's okay. It's not quite as strong as discard 1, draw 2, because it's not thinning your deck, and it also isn't drawing you as many new cards. So if you like shuffle your deck, you'll see the same cards again and stuff like that. But it's pretty solid. It's a very fair draw engine here. And also, it's a card that enables you to play Dragapult EX in a more interesting way, because, as I said, you could put it in something like Goldango EX, or put it with like Charizard EX, or really whatever. Um, let's see if I can find something else. There's Iron Thorns. I wouldn't say that's an example of a cool deck. There was also Ethan's. That's not like super strong, but it is interesting within there. Also, sorry if my voice is like a little off. I am a little under the weather, mostly good, but not 100%. Anyways, so yeah, this card is cool. I will also mention within Dragapult specifically, Dragon Headbutt has some utility. Not going to talk about that anymore, but it can be useful. So that's like fair, cool design. But overall, as an engine, it's nice. It's not like super high HP. It's not super low HP, so it's like not really a liability, but it could be a little bit. Your opponent could target it down, say with Dragapult EX. And then also, I don't know, it just like flows super well. It's not the most complicated card here. Its use case is relatively straightforward, but it's a really fun card that fits in a top deck, but it doesn't, break the deck open either. It just makes the deck, I'd say, more fun. And it's not a card that's like, there's some decision making with it, just choosing what card you want, but it's not like crazy, so it's not super long. It's just a really, really well designed card, in my opinion. The next card we have here is Miraidon EX. Miraidon EX is a card here that is, and specifically Miraidon EX, the lightning one from Scarlet and Violet. There's like, I believe, 3 Miraidon EXs. But anyways, this card has the ability Tandem Unit, letting you search your deck for 2 basic lightning Pokemon and put them onto your bench and shuffle your deck. And then also the attack here, Photon Blaster, for 3 energy, 2 which are lightning, and then you can't attack next turn. Also, it's good in standard. I will say I'm talking about these cards throughout their history in standard, so Miraidon's seen a different play in a lot of different decks. So it's pretty interesting there. That's part of what I like about it. It's a very versatile card, or at least a, I guess, resilient card. Also, I think this might be the weakest of the cards we're going to talk about. A lot of these cards are pretty strong. I think Rhydon feels pretty fair in terms of competitive play, right? Compared to like an average card, it's like kind of broken, I guess, but like every competitive card is as well. But it's been like the centerpiece of decks. Honestly, what is this list? Yeah, so you got stuff with a variety of different attacking Pokemon. Rhydon EX here is a support piece to get those cards out, as well as supporting cards like Rotom V or Magneton. We can see Laffy or Electric or different things. It can be a really nice support card to get other support cards and your attackers and helps your decks flow a lot smoother. Also, it is an attacking option in pretty much every deck it's played in through the use of Electric Generator, Joltik, or those other energy acceleration options I mentioned before, as well as maybe some that I'm forgetting. And so it's like a really cool card because it's so adaptable. It works with, as I said, it can get your supporting Pokemon. It can get something like Joltik, so again, increases the consistency. Enables a pretty simple toolbox deck in terms of comparing it to like Noctowl Box, which is a deck I like more because you have more search options with Noctowl, but you're not playing that here. You don't need to play because Rhydon EX is going to get your Pokemon for the most part and let you do what you need to do, kind of. Then you just need some other pieces to get like energies, but that's about it. You're not looking for too much here. So overall, again, it smooths things out a lot. And I think in terms of balance, it's one of the best balance cards in the game, being solid. Also, it's not again super complicated for your opponent. It's not like your opponent is going to be annoyed by you like doing all these actions every turn. It feels pretty fair. It feels fun. It feels just pretty normal as well. It is was in the first set of Scarlet and Violet, so you have one of the box legendaries. Comparing this to Zacian V before it, Zacian V was like really strong and game dominating. Rhydon EX, being a very similar card, is not that. It's very, as I said, fair. Just a really cool card here. Also, before we move on to the next card, I do want to say make sure you like the video and subscribe. Also, you can join as a member, and I do want to shout out Evan J for becoming a member on my channel. You can get some stuff, but it's mostly there to support me if you want to do that. Also, you can get you can suggest videos that I will do. Almost no one / no one has like done that. So yeah, you can do that. I will say, I don't know, for some reason people like comment on my videos and they like become members and they just stop commenting. But anyways, I just want to say that. But Miraidon, definitely a really fun card here. I will say Miraidon itself, the Pokemon, has had a lot of really good cards as well, which is kind of fun. But then we are coming to the next Pokemon, which might surprise you. Not that it might surprise you that it's on this list, but it might also surprise you that I put it on this list. It's Munkidori. If you know me, I'm a bit of a Munkidori hater. That being said, I'm not a Munkidori hater in terms of its design, obviously. I mean, I have it on this list. I'm a bit of a Munkidori hater, as in I don't think it's as good as other people do. I've definitely heard people say it's the best Pokemon in the game. I think that's not. I disagree. But I do think it is a strong card. I will say it could be a little overpowered looking at it. Notably in Gardevoir, it's very good. But of course, Gardevoir EX, it is a psychic deck. Munkidori is a psychic Pokemon, but it doesn't need psychic energies. It needs darkness energy on it. 1 darkness to move up to 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon once each turn. Then for Psychic Colors, you can do 60 and Confuse. It's a little interesting here comparing this to the other Loyal 3 in Okidogi and Pheasantipede. They both do need Darkness energies for their abilities, but they also need to be their only abilities really used if they're attacking. And there are also abilities that, compared to their attacks, their attacks need a different type of energy, and it's like all that different type of energy. Munkidori, you can attack for Psychic Darkness and then also use your ability. So it works a little better there. Again, the attack doesn't matter too much, kind of like with Dracoloak. I'd say Munkidori's is less meaningful than Dracoloak. I'm not sure. Comment down below what your thoughts on that are. I guess, I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? But nothing crazy, but it can definitely be meaningful. So I do like the design of that. I'm not generally a huge fan of special conditions, but I don't mind it too much with Munkidori. But then we have, obviously, the ability itself. I will say the Pokemon has decently high HP. Could say, again, if you think it's a little too strong, you could, like, nerf the HP. That's a pretty minor nerf that could change it. Obviously, you don't want to nerf it probably to 70 because then it's searchable off of Buddy Buddy Poffin. But anyways, it's a card here that is interesting because it's oftentimes used in decks, I think almost exclusively used in decks that aren't Darkness decks outside of Marnie's, where it has, like, it's a very good card within there because it is Darkness, and so that just works really nicely. and then also maybe like ends or something, right? But ultimately, it's played in stuff like Gardevoir mostly, where it's not it's a psychic deck. It's like a Pokemon, but it needs Darkness Energy. So you have a payoff here of being able to heal and do extra damage, which is nice. However, it is on a Pokemon that requires extra energy attachments, which can be a legitimate cost to do. You can't just flood your board with Munkidori and start powering them up all at once, because you again need to use your energy generally from hand to attack, so you need time to do that. So it's a really interesting card. Also, I will say moving damage counters around is really fun. Except for maybe like Frostlass isn't as fun. Frostlass is kind of fun, but it's a little slow and tedious. I don't think Munkidori is too tedious. I will say Munkidori is very highly played right now, so it can become tedious slash annoying if people are just like sending damage counters back and forth. And then it starts to feel kind of pointless as well, because like you're not getting anywhere. But most of the time, it's really interesting moving damage counters around the board. I think healing can be fun as well, and healing is generally something that's pretty bad in the game, but Munkidori has kind of brought it back. Overall, I really like the things that it does for the game. Again, I think it is a little overrated in terms of its strength, but that I think a lot of people think it's very good. And then I mean, I do think it's a good card, but I think it is balanced, especially if you look at it in something like Dragapult or like Gholdengo or something. There it's going to be like okay, but it's not crazy value. It does require commitment, and it is situational, but it is fun as well, I think, in those decks if you choose to use it. But again, you can use it. You don't have to use it, especially in something like Gholdengo. In Dragapult, it works pretty well, but it's not like a centerpiece in the deck either. And then in the decks, it's a centerpiece, and I think it works pretty well. I don't think it's super broken. I mean, it's like good in Gardevoir, but I wouldn't say it's broken. I say Gardevoir is kind of broken, but Munkidori definitely a really cool card. I have heard complaints because it's like really played. Ultimately, I don't know what its legacy will be. I don't know if its legacy will be that it's like some card that people got kind of sick of, or if it will end up being a card that people kind of end up thinking of in a positive light. So comment down below, I guess. I mean, I kind of know what people are going to say. They're going to say that it's a little too much, but I really do like the design of it. I like moving damage counters around. Next card we have here is a card that I'm not gonna lie, this card's kind of overpowered. In standard right now, I would say it's too strong. Not like ban worthy or anything, but it is very good. Also, I will mention with the Gholdengo EX here, there is a new supporter. I think it's called Fire Breather, which I didn't talk about I talked about it in my podcast episode, which was released on Monday, just my Monday video, a little with Uncommon Fossil, where we discussed maybe Fire Breather and Gholdengo just a tiny bit, but I didn't discuss it at all with the reveal video. I don't think it's very good in Gholdengo. I think it's kind of mediocre at best. I might talk about that more in the future. I probably will, but anyways, didn't want to mention that because I didn't mention it before, and figured it is worth a mention, but not having too much in it here. But if you're not familiar with the Gholdengo, or just as a refresher, if it's in the active, you draw 2 once every turn. If it's on the bench, you draw 1. And then your attack for 1 medal, you discard any amount of medals from your hand. Or no, sorry, any amount of basic energies from your hand. It does 50 for each card discarded in this way. And it's a 260 HP Stage 1 medal Pokemon. That's an EX. So this card has, again, it's a little too strong in standard with Genesect. EX notably, I think, has like pushed it a little over the edge. I'm not gonna lie, I thought this card was kind of broken when I first saw it, and I'm not. It's a little too strong. I will say that's the only knock against this card, though, in my opinion. It is a card that's aimed at one-shotting, but I think it's fun. It's a card that you need some setup. Again, in standard, it's pretty easy to get, maybe a little too easy, but you do need like energy retrieval or energy search or something like that to be able to get all these energies into your hand. And it's a deck where you do big damage, you do big things. It's not like a crazy amount of steps. It is a decent amount of steps, especially like you might end up shuffling a bunch during your turn or something because of the way you draw and then you like search and stuff. But it's a cool concept here, and the thing I really like is the ability coin bonus, drawing you cards. It has synergies with switching cards like Air Balloon, which I think is fun. Again, Air Balloon has helped out this deck a noticeable amount. But anyways, I do like Gholdengo EX's draw ability, kind of like Dracloak, where it's a support for a stronger attacker that kind of built together. But you can also get value out of the ability in other things. Notably, Gholdengo has been played in a wide variety of different, I don't know if decks, they're all Gholdengo pretty much, but it's been featured with other cards. We got Joltik here. I have not played this. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if this is any good or not. but then I'm more familiar with, there's been a paired with Dragapult a bunch. It's been paired with, okay, there's a lot of stuff here. It's been paired with Palkia. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, well, trust me, it's been paired with Palkia. Yeah, okay, I guess they're just called Gholdengo. It's also been, I've seen it paired a little bit with Ceruledge and some other things, but a lot of the Pokemon that's been paired with are really interesting Pokemon that are kind of independent. So you have these like 2 attacker decks, which are pretty interesting here. And you have, solid support from Gholdengo if you're not using it as your main attacker within the match, or it can be the main attacker. And its role is pretty simple and straightforward, just doing big damage. So it does what it does. It's not too overcomplicated, but I do like it. Again, it could be, if you think it's too strong, I do get that knock, but I do like it as a card that it's just a solid one-shotting Pokemon, but also a card that has depth with its ability and also has a lot of versatility in terms of the decks it can be played with. Also, in terms of like tech attackers, you can look at something like Scizor or the single prize Gholdengo, and these cards are pretty like interesting techs that fit in really nicely with the deck. So I think the variation within how it can be played has worked really well for the card. Last card we have here is the only trainer on this list. I'm not gonna lie, there could have been a lot of trainers here, or like no trainers. But Iono, I'm not gonna lie, I put this at the last spot, or like the last card I'm talking about in the video, because it is a card that's been talked about a lot in terms of card design. But it is very good. It says each player shuffles their hand and puts on the bottom of their deck. Then, if either player put any cards on the bottom, they draw a card for each of their remaining prize cards. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I love the fact that you need to put cards on the bottom of your deck to draw cards. I don't know if I think that's like good for the card design, but also I can't really think of when it's ever mattered, so it doesn't really matter here. But outside of that, I love this card. The one potential knock against this card, and specifically the supporter N, which was shuffle into the deck, that I had, because that card was praised a lot, and I mostly agreed. However, you can end up coming down to situations at the end of the game where you need to draw a card to win the game, like a specific card, boss for game or something. However, with Iono, you're guaranteed not to draw the cards in your hand, so I think that makes the randomness feel a bit more fair there. At least in my opinion. I don't know if other people agree with that. I don't know. Some people might like not really mind that at all, or some people might have a bigger issue with it. Then also it is just the Pokemon TCG. It's a TCG. It's a card game. You draw cards, and you shuffle your deck. So that is an important part of the game in terms of like the randomness there. But this is also a card that at the beginning of the game draws you cards. It's a very strong draw supporter. At the end of the game, it's a very strong disruptive supporter. However, at the end of the game, it's also presumably going to be a bad draw supporter, like pretty bad, like actively bad, hurting yourself. And then at the beginning of the game, it's going to be helping your opponent potentially there. It will throw them off, so it will always provide some form of disruption to them, I guess. But it's, at the beginning of the game, it does kind of help both players. But that's also nice because it allows both players to get into the game. Pokemon's only really fun if both players are, playing the game, and Iono really helps that out. And then at the end of the game, it kind of ends you up in these situations where you're kind of trying to claw for your last prizes. So I think it really emphasizes the setup phase of the game where it's really important to get going, and then like the late phase of the game where you're trying to, finish things out. I think it just really shows a really fun aspect on those phases of the game, and also has the comeback element to it, which will mean that both players are going to be, if you're down, then you can catch up to your opponent, and then both players will be in a similar phase more often, which I do think is fun. Overall, it's just a balancing card. I don't think it's too strong in decks that are trying to come from behind. But you could say it is. I don't know. I feel like it's all right. It's also been kind of countered by Pheasantipity EX. I'm allowing for a lot of draw out after you've been hit with Iono, and other powerful draw cards, or like decent draw cards like Dracloak or Gholdengo EX, allowing you to draw a bunch with your essentially attacker. So there's some weird stuff to talk about there, which I'm not going to dive into in this video. But overall, I really do like the design of Iono, both as a really fun comeback card, but also a card that's strong and in a lot of decks that allows people to. I don't know. My favorite part of the card is that it allows both people to set up generally, and so it lets you play the game. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, all the good stuff. I'm really excited to get back into card design, talk about card design as well. I haven't done this in a while, so I was a little rusty. But tell me down below in the comments if there are cards that you think are really well designed that I didn't talk about in this video. I'm sure there are. This isn't a comprehensive list or anything, but I might make a second part or version of this video. But also, if you think any of these cards have substantial issues in this the card design that I didn't talk about, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.